Greetings. I am Logan, the G.I. Joe Gamer, and welcome to Joe Takes 42. Tonight, talking about rock and roll from the hilt. And before we get into that, I want to announce that we're making a change up on Joe Takes. Instead of playing the video at the beginning as the intro, I made an intro as you just saw. So I'm going to go back to playing it at the end of the video. However, and then I won't have the next week's Joe Takes at the end. I'll post on the channel after that, but we will also be premiering it on our Fridays from the Hilt show, which we did tonight. So check that out. But I'm going to play it here tonight for you anyway. But from this moment, this video forward, the next week's Joe Takes will not be on the Joe Takes. It'll be on Fridays from the Hilt. That way I can get more people to see it. And it's just extra content on here anyway. So I just want to talk about the one figure at a time. And so what we're going to do tonight is I'm going to go ahead and play right now. I'm going to go ahead and play that rock and roll video for Joe Takes 42. So here you go. I like to include all that art in file cards for the character. So we've done that. Rock and Roll is a really cool Joe. He's one of the original 13. So I'm going to have a good time talking about him tonight. So I hope you enjoy. Before we do that, though, monthly, I have been doing something interesting for a channel called Spine Ticks, which I'm pretty sure there's a link in the description. I'm pretty sure I thought to do that earlier. Tomorrow night on Spine Ticks does a show every Saturday night at 9 p.m. Eastern or 10 p.m. It's 9 p.m. for me, so I think it's 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Mountain Time. So check out Spine Ticks. And what I do is I send him these what I call Joe Ticks or Cobra Ticks. And so this one actually starred rock and roll. So I'm going to play this video for you too.
Hello ladies. Okay, maybe the dudes too. My name is Craig. My hobbies are playing guitar and going for strolls on a moonlit beach. I'm the Joe's machine gunner because I have a lot of stamina. If you know what I mean. And that's why they call me rock and roll. That's my bit. Now for the business at hand. Watch Joe Takes On from the Hilt after Fridays, but Saturday nights are for spine ticks. Yo Joe. Ticks.
The rest of that was just little bits for spine ticks and credits. Jay Taro did the music for that. It was called One Love. So I hope you enjoyed that. Now, let's get into what we normally do around here. And we look at figures, talk about the characters, and have a good time doing it. Now, here's Rock and Roll, the original straight arm 1982 action figure. I got him on the 25th anniversary Ram cycle, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, I'm not going to put his hands on this because I'm not putting anything in the hands of this old figure. But this guy is in really good shape. And I'll show you. Even his knees are hard to bend. So he either got repaired and cleaned up, or somebody kept this figure in really good shape before I bought it. I got it in a comic book store in a trade for other action figures of different lines that I had and my wife had. We traded a bunch of stuff, and I got a bunch of G.I. Joes. And this just happened to be there in pieces. And they practically gave it to me because it wasn't assembled. They didn't know what to do with it. And I'm like, I know what to do with it. And so I put an O-ring on it, and I put it together. And as you can see, straight arm, no swivel arm. If I can get the camera to focus. And all it does is up and down like that. So anyway, Rock and Roll was one of the cooler originals because it had the bullets on his chest, and it was molded into the plastic, which was neat at the time, and it made him stand out from the other Joes. Yeah, his helmet does come off, and he's blonde. And yeah, he has the same head as Clutch and Breaker, but that's all right. You know, they just had to reuse parts. And he's got one of the classic helmets on. And I do not have the machine gun because it didn't come with that. So I won't be able to look at that. So the next one I have is the 1989, the second version of Rock and Roll. I am missing the other Gatling gun. Actually, I have it, but it's this bottom part, this separated from the actual gun. As you can see, it looks pretty fragile. And it really was. It just kind of cracked right off. So I actually took it off and just used it as a regular gun. He also came, there used to be little pegs on his leg. And he came with this little shotgun-like weapon. And that's in with my accessories somewhere, but I'm not really sure exactly where. So here we go. And this Rock and Roll is, as you can see, it's in really good shape too. The knees don't bend really easy. And I replaced this O-ring probably about 5 or 6 years ago, and it stayed pretty good. This is like a really awesome version of Rock and Roll, which, as we get to the classified, you'll see the classified is actually kind of a combination between the two of those. I did acquire another Rock and Roll figure in the early 2000s in a comic book pack with Short Fuse and Flash. Flash, however, was in an astronaut, a spacesuit. And so it looks pretty cool. And when I do my Flash video, I'll definitely check that figure out too. But he came with this big old gun and a backpack, which is with my accessories somewhere. But I thought they did a really good job of making him look like a bearded dude with like a surfer haircut back in the 80s. So it was pretty cool. And they did this in the early 2000s. So it was kind of neat that they did this so that we have a really cool looking Rock and Roll figure. And they molded all the bullets, and it's a completely new sculpt. So it's really cool. Now, I know they probably used this from other parts, like from Big Ben or something in that time period. But I think they made him look really good. And having come with that comic pack, it came with the issue, I think number 8, where they went into space. And it was kind of cool. So yeah, that's an issue to check out. I do have it. Let me double check here, and I will look and see which one that was. Because I do have all the older runs. I think it's number 8, but I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure that it's this one. And this was actually the first one not written by Larry Hama. It was written by the artist, Herb Trimpe. So it's interesting, different take on the Joes, but yet just as cool. There were very few of the Marvel run in G.I. Joe that was not written by Larry Hama. I'll get into the comics more in a little bit, but let's take a look at the classified box art. Now, I'm not a big fan of a picture instead of artwork. They did include a little bit of artwork, and it looks pretty cool. And he's number 71 in the series. On the back, show the figure and all the accessories. And he came with extra hands, a fist, and a gun hand, and a pointing hand. Now, the first one I bought actually came with 2 fist hands, a pointing hand, and that was it. It didn't come with his gun hand. And it's like, how can you have a machine gunner without a gun hand, you know? So I actually swapped his out with Sergeant Slaughter's hand for a while because Sergeant Slaughter has multiple hands in his set too. And I've done that video. I did that for my Veterans Day. It was pretty cool video. Now, rock and roll. I love the fact that these things come with the little box that he comes in. It has the artwork in black and white. And I like to show these off now. And I don't know why I wasn't doing it earlier, but he also comes with, and it was in the video too. He comes with his Foot Locker, and pretty much all I have in here, and I just dropped it. Gotta drop something on Joe Takes, and I do not see it. Oh, there it is. There, it's one of the hands that came out of the box here. Double check. Yeah, I got 2 other hands. And it looks like a extra little bullet clip that goes on so you can display them differently. It's kind of cool. Now, he comes with a rocker hand, which right now I've got him with his other gun hand on the left. And then that's that fist I was telling you about. Now, like I said, the other one came with 2. So I had to acquire another rock and roll. What is your recourse for a hand? You know, I'm not going to return it. I got it at the store, and I could have taken it back because now there's like 100 rock and rolls on the shelf. But at the time, he was hardly around, and now that's all you find is Shipwreck and Rock and Roll at Walmart. So Target's been a little better, not much, but they have all their exclusives out now. I don't know why Walmart doesn't have their exclusives. I've had to order all of those online, so I have some of those coming, and I have a couple of mine that I picked up recently, but none of the Night Force yet. I got a couple of those coming this week, I hope. But anyway, I ordered them from Hasbro, so that was. Sometimes it takes a while for Hasbro to send stuff, but that's the classified box art for this rock and roll. Now, I acquired this rock and roll in a very special way. It was actually given to me by Sith Lordly from Spine Ticks. So a huge shout out to Spine Ticks this week on Joe Takes. I'm basically dedicating this episode to him. Rock and roll is one of his favorites, and I know that a few of my friends, rock and roll is their favorite character. If I get his helmet on there properly, so I do like the fact that he can hold the bolt of bullets, belt of bullets, if I can speak properly. And he comes with his sidearm, and he comes with a radio that actually snaps on. You can snap it onto the back or the front. I found it snapping it onto the front. It actually gets in the way of a lot of things. And there are other things that you can snap into that, but generally with this figure, the only thing I found that really works is the radio. And I like to display it like that, sideways, but you can turn it any which way you want. It's just snapped in there. And like I said, it just comes right off and it snaps right in there. And we'll put it right back and point the antenna that a ways. And like I said, it comes with the standard Joe sidearm, you know. But this machine gun that they had come with, it's not a Modus, the old one. He didn't come with a Modus. He came with this big old machine gun. It is very similar to the original, but not exact. I actually think they did a better job. And it has these two stands here, like a bipod, so you can actually display him laying down and shooting the machine gun, which is really cool. I do like this communication helmet, and because he's got the ring on the back there, but that's just a chin strap there. But yeah, this is where his Joe Pro is in his helmet right there on the side. Doesn't really look like the standard Joe Pro on some of the other figures, but that's kind of how I picture what it is. But he does have his radio too, so you could imagine either one being your communication source. Well, like I said, that machine gun is really awesome, and he can carry it by the handle there, or hold it like this, and you can pose him in a lot of different ways. Now, this bipod actually folds up and it snaps into the gun itself, and so it holds up really well. Now, I don't really like the design of that, but it works. I wish they'd have painted it black. I mean, molded it black or whatever, so that the green didn't stand out. But, that's the way they did it. I don't know why, but, they make their decisions. And, of course, he has the belt of bullets. Now, comparing him to the original is all green with the belt of bullets, and this helmet's just plain. I think they did a way better job. Hello, Victor. Welcome, sir. Talking rock and roll tonight. Hope you like rock and roll. He's not my top 10, but he is definitely up there, man. He's one of the coolest Joes that there is. In the cartoon, I love some of the stuff they had him do. And he was in both series. He was in the Sunbow series and the Deke series. I think they even had a cameo for him in the G.I. Joe Renegades. And there were some other of the mini movies that he was in. And I'd have to go over him to really check, because he never really had a big part. But that's rock and roll. And what I was saying with the shirt, how it's light, and the original was all green. As you can see, they kind of merged the two and gave him the lighter shirt. I missed my OG rock and roll figure. I never had an OG rock and roll figure. This was my rock and roll right here. And I acquired this one here just a few years ago, like I was saying earlier, and it is in pristine shape. I mean, the knees don't bend on their own. The arms are really stiff, and all I had to do was replace the O-ring. And the comic book store didn't know what to do with it, because it didn't have an O-ring. And I'm like, you don't know how to replace the O-rings? I mean, but that wasn't their thing, I guess, and that's cool. It made it so I acquired it for relatively cheap. It was part of the trade that I did with action figures. And I'm not about to put him on a battle stand, but these old figures stand better than any of the new ones. I don't know why, they just do. But I'm just gonna lay him down there. And like I said, I have the original Ram, but I'm missing the sidecar for it. So when I display him on the 25th anniversary Ram. This is a really nice update for the Ram cycle. It is way better than the original, but of course, they had the technology and the tools to do what they needed to do. And the classified Ram, I compared these in the Breaker video, so you can check that out. I had all of them in there, including my old one without the sidecar. So I really did an in-depth a review on the Ram cycle and Breaker. Well, not really a review, but I gave my opinion on it. Now, talking cartoon, Rock and Roll was in the very first miniseries, and he had a few lines, but he didn't really have a big part. Reg Cobra, he was in it. That was about it. I think he was on guard duty or something in some of the scenes. And, they always show him in the background. But then when they got to the regular series, excuse me. Yes, when they got to the regular first season, after Pyramid of Darkness, they had him in one of my favorite episodes was Jungle Trap. And him, Snake Eyes, Scarlet, and Duke with Recondo were trapped in the jungle. Cobra shot them down in their dragonflies, and they had to make their way through the jungle. And Cobra had all these traps set up, including some striped hyenas. It was really an intense episode for a kid's show back then. And Rock and Roll played a really big part in that. He was one of the main characters right up to the very end. And so that's a really good one if you haven't seen it. Jungle Trap in the Sunbow series. Let's see, Victor says, yeah, I used to drive my mom crazy, Tigger, with my toys, swapping heads and taking apart electronics. Yes, sir. I did some of that too. I have quite a few. Not really a lot. I kind of put back my collection as best I could, but I did Frankenstein some of the figures, as they like to call it. I don't know why, but they did, and that's what they call it. So anyway, in the cartoon, he was also in Synthoid Conspiracy. He didn't have a really big part, but the part that he played was really cool. He actually helped Mutt escape when the Synthoids were taking over GI Joe, and they wanted to. One of the Synthoids ordered Junkyard destroyed, so naturally Mutt decided to take off. And Rock and Roll actually helped him escape, and there was a really cool scene of camaraderie between Rock and Roll and Mutt, which I really enjoyed. Trying to think of other scenes with Rock and Roll. The only other one that really stands out to me was the Cold Slither episode, where at the end they got to sing the GI Joe song, and he was up there on stage playing a guitar. It was a nice nod to the fact that Rock and Roll is a rock and roller and a surfer. They never really noted that he was a surfer, but it was pretty cool. Now I'm going to take a look at these covers, and I actually have them set up so that I can put them up here. I need to put my music back on, no dead air while I'm happy here. If I stop talking, which isn't likely to happen. Now, issue 97 was really the first one I found that focused on Rock and Roll, and I think it's a really good nod to the character. And I have this issue. Let's see. You remember that scene? Yeah, me too, sir. Cold Slither. Yeah, that was a fun episode, Cold Slither. Rock and Roll was in other episodes, but to me, he really didn't stand out except in those few episodes that I mentioned. Now, in the Deke series, he was in this uniform, and he was pretty much only in Operation Dragonfire, the 5-part miniseries. I don't remember. He might have been in the background in some of the other episodes, and maybe he did like a big old cameo in one of them, but I'm not really sure because I don't remember seeing him a lot. But I like this cover. Him with the Canadian Mounties. It was really cool with his pants all shredded and his Gatling guns just smoking. I thought they did a really cool job on this cover right here. And then the next one that had a really featured Rock and Roll was when they introduced Metalhead. I didn't have I don't have issue 98, so it's not on the back there, but this is on the back of issue 113 with Tunnel Rat, and it looks, I think that's supposed to be Rock and Roll back there, but they didn't color him right. Roadblock, not Rock and Roll. Rock and Roll is on this cover though, on 114, and I do have this to look at better. There we go. That was during the 50th anniversary of Marvel, way back in the, I'd say late 80s, early 90s, because they went to 155, so I think it was late 80s when this came out, when they were trying to fix all their comic dates and everything. And I thought it was a pretty badass issue. I didn't really care for Metalhead. Larry Hama obviously didn't either. He didn't have a bunch of the storyline, but whatever. Anyway, so throughout the entire comic series, however, Rock and Roll had a lot of major appearances. Him, Clutch, and Breaker would go on these road trips, and he had this really cool car. Clutch actually owned the car, and they were driving across. I think it was Clutch's car, because Clutch is the driver, because there is a really cool line in that comic where they run into the Dreadnoks, they're facing off with the Dreadnoks, and Lulu decided to come down. She didn't knock the divider back on me, so I guess that's a good thing. I gave her enough room to get by tonight. Anyway, what happened to Dr. Mindbender? A lot of things happened to Dr. Mindbender in the comics. I have not acquired the classified Dr. Mindbender yet, but I want to. We'll see how that works out because it's pretty expensive. I actually hope they come out with it again in a less deluxe format. Now, anyway, as this comic was progressing, and it was in the 30s, where Rock and Roll, Breaker, and Clutch went on this road trip, and they went up against the Dreadnoks, and it was pretty cool. Rock and Roll really wanted to kill Bunder, but they didn't get the chance. There was a scene where somebody was asking for something, a gun in the glove box, and they popped open the glove box, and I'm pretty sure there was Rock and Roll, there was a pistol in there, and there was a bunch of gloves in there. And he goes, Rock and Roll's like, who puts gloves in the glove box? And Clutch was like, I do. Of course you put gloves in the glove box. I had never heard of putting gloves in the glove box. I thought that was really funny of Larry Hama to point that out. Now, as far as Dr. Mindbender is concerned, Later on, he actually was when Clutch and Rock and Roll got brainwashed by Cobra Commander. Dr. Mindbender was technically dead at the time, so I don't even know if Rock and Roll had any interaction with Dr. Mindbender in the comics. And I know he did in the cartoon. Rock and Roll was pretty much out of the Sunbow series when Dr. Mindbender showed up, and they didn't have Dr. Mindbender in these Deke series at all. Their rebranding of him in G.I. Joe Renegades was interesting, but it wasn't the old Dr. Mindbender at all. Yes, sir. Lots of left. Yes. I try to keep things light and nice around here. So that's in a nutshell, that's his storyline in the comics. He never really had in-depth, deep background or anything. I mean, Clutch had a story where he went home, but that was written by somebody other than Larry Hama, that was like the second one, number 20, that was written by someone else. But it was an interesting story for Clutch anyway. I like Clutch. He's in my top 10. And Breaker's pretty cool. I already did a review on that. Now, I have ordered the Vamp with Clutch with the classified line, so I will be taking a look at that when I get it. But it's pre-ordered, so I have no idea. They haven't charged me for it yet, but when they do, I know it'll show up within about a week. So we'll see. That should be really cool because, the crew, Breaker, Clutch, and Rock and Roll, that would be nice to take some pics of the three of them together and do another G.I. Joe Brothers in Arms with the three of them. That would be awesome. As far as Rock and Roll is concerned for me, the file cards, he started out as E5, he ended up getting promoted to E6 on this particular figure. They released him in different colors in like 90 or 91 as one of the sonic or supersonic fighters. I didn't really care for the colors on it. It was like really awful green and ugly orange. I mean, we're talking really ugly orange. But that was the 90s for you. I don't know why Cat wants to come back out. I'm not going to let you knock that down. Okay, you go get something. Luna making an appearance without being on camera. Just how she is. That's how she rolls. All right. So, anyway, on that particular figure, however, they promoted him to E9. Now, most other file cards list him as E6. I kind of see Rock and Roll Baby having leveled out at E7, which is Sergeant First Class, or just staying as a Staff Sergeant. I don't think he ever. I know that particular figure listed him as a Sergeant Major, but in the comic books, he did get promoted from E5. He got a full pay grade. So in the comics, he did get promoted to E6, and I'm sure after a few years, he was promoted to E7 at least. Let me see. Luna is such a diva. Yeah, she is. And it was Thursday night. She knocked that down on my head right as I ended the live stream. I think you were there for that. It wasn't pleasant. It hit me in the back of the head and right here on my arm, and I got this bruise right here. But I weathered it. It's just life with a cat. Now, so as far as I'm concerned, Rock and Roll's not a squad leader. He's a team player. He's a squad mate, and I like to put him up with Clutch, Breaker, and Grunt. They make a really good, really cool fire team. You remember? Yeah. So yeah, those four make a cool fire team, and I generally put them in Stalker's Alpha team. So the Alpha fire team Alpha would be Stalker Squad, and they're team 2. So Alpha 2, he would be Alpha 2-1, and Clutch would be 2-2. That's just the way I kind of do things. He's actually Alpha 22, but that's kind of how I roll. Stalker and Recondo was one of your favorite action figures? Yes, sir. And I've got Recondo slotted later down the line to do a Joe take on him. Love that figure. I want to wait till I get the retro version of Recondo that's out. I'm going to be ordering that as soon as I can, with whatever I have the budget for it. So that should be pretty cool. I already did a Stalker video. Stalker is awesome. He's one of the coolest Joes, and he's in my top 10. Um, Definitely an awesome character, an awesome figure. The original was good. The 90s, the 89 one was decent too, where he came in a Tundra outfit. That was really cool. Yes, rock and roll. Ricondo's hat was so cool. It was all folded up on the side. Get that Australian bush hat, I think is what they call it. And I definitely dig Ricondo. So I'm looking forward to doing his video too. In my head canon, that's how I see rock and roll as a stand-up team player, just with a mellow, cool attitude. All the Joes want to hang out with rock and roll. Bored, he can break out a guitar and start playing some music. He's going to be right there to cover him if things get hairy, Yeah, yes, sir. Condo's cool, and I like he's got it's up with an R. And I just realized it when I was making to get this set up tonight. That last week I did Ripper's video for the Dreadnought. So I did 2 R's in a row, Ripper and Ricondo. So. Ripper and rock and roll, and now we're talking about Ricondo. That's what I was being said. But anyway, that's my take on rock and roll. He is definitely a stand-up Joe. I wouldn't want to have a team without him. I know a lot of people think that Roadblock replaced it, but I think they work really good together. Roadblock on one fire team squad and rock and roll on the other. That would be really cool. Let's see, Victor's saying that I used to have Bazooka, Ricondo, Stalker, and Rock and Roll squad up for missions. That is a cool team, I gotta tell you, with Stalker as the leader. Yep. Stalker is one of my favorite field leaders, especially the comics. I love a lot of the Stalker stories, but I went into way detail on Stalker in his video, so I'm not gonna overload this video with that, but just like with Dr. Mindbender, I do want to do one, but I want to pick up the classified version first. And I definitely want to get that retro Ricondo so I can do a really cool video. Because the Tiger Force Ricondo is cool, and I have that. But to see him in the retro colors, I love the look of that action figure, and I really want to acquire one. And I'm not sure it's quite out yet, but I haven't ordered any of the newer retro ones. I got just the original 4 Gung Ho, Destro, Lady J, and there it is. They're actually out here on my desk. Once you open them up, they you can't put them back in the box. But I did acquire them a second time, and they're on my wall. So I can't wait till I get my studio set up so that can all be on camera at some point. So I hope you enjoyed my take on rock and roll. I am going to play one more little video here for next week. Now, I'm not going to be doing that as of the next Joe Takes. I didn't announce it last time, so I wanted to keep with what I was going with this week. But I will start having the next week's Joe Takes on the Fridays from the Hilt. So, and plus they'll come out at 1 a.m. after I do my Joe Takes anyway. So this video will post in probably about less than a half hour. So on that note, see what Victor has to say. Yes, sir. Chris, thank you. Oh, you are welcome. And thank you for being here, my friend. I enjoy hanging out with you, especially when we go over and watch Star Trek on the Role-Playing Gamers Society. Society of Role-Playing Gamers. Bear's channel. It still is his channel, but that's a lot of fun, and I appreciate hanging out with you, sir. And I miss you on our Endless Quest book this month, so I hope you'll join us for the next one. We're going to be reading Revenge of the Rainbow Dragons in I think it's 2 weeks, something like that on Thursday night. So I hope you join us for that, because I know you have a good time with us on that. And yes, sir, likewise. I actually had another guy named Chris. He used to call me Likewise. And I called him Ditto. It was kind of crazy, but when you say that, it just reminds me of that. What's the things we do in life, right? Anyway, so this is who I'm taking a look at next week. Now, I've started using an AI generator for music songs and everything called Pseudo, and I use that in this video, so I hope you enjoy it. On that note, Logan out.
In the heart of the city, shadows come alive. A ruthless speedboat driver ready to take a dive. Copperhead is his name, his ambition untamed. The power of Cobra, no one can be blamed. Cobras chase, the battle unfolds. G.I. Joe stands tall, brave and bold. Copperhead's game, a dangerous affair. With justice in our hands, we'll despair. In the depths of the night, a shadow takes the wheel. Copperhead's in control, he's got that speedboat skill. Yeah! Ruthless gambler, mercy in his eyes. He'll push it to the edge, take you by surprise. Whoa! Cobra's curse, they're toying with our fate, but G.I. Joe won't back down. We'll never hesitate from land to sea. We'll stand and fight. Code's reign of terror will bring it to life.
All right, it's over. Go on home now.